passengers travelling to Australia require negative results. PILAG CEO outlines achievements and plans. And police officers suspended following fatal accident.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayre.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Sunday's news. New announcements from the Australian government require passengers travelling into Australia to provide a negative PCR test result at the time of check-in. Though this is not being implemented as yet, it will come into effect at some time in the near future.
The national flag carrier Air Niugini, in a statement released yesterday, says at present there are no requirements for the PCR test for flights into Australia. But when this measure comes into effect, the airline will provide more information to passengers travelling into Australia. The new measure is part of the drastic step the Australian government is taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19. At the moment, the New Zealand government has put in restrictions similar to that from New Zealand to stop the new highly contagious strain of COVID-19. For passengers travelling into Australia, these PCR tests can be completed in Port Moresby at the Pacific International Hospital and St. John's for a fee, with results provided quickly. Other types of tests, such as the rapid or Gene X test, are not acceptable. The wearing of face masks on all flights into Australia remains mandatory. However, with the implementation of these new measures, Air Niugini predicts there will be a decrease in the number of passengers travelling between Port Moresby and Cairns. The airline has also announced it has closed its flights between Port Moresby and Brisbane between the 15th of this month and the 15th of February for additional sales. Thaklagunga, National EMTV News.
Pacific Institute of Leadership and Governance CEO Michael Barobe has outlined some of its achievements and plans going forward to the new Minister for Public Services. Some of its achievements for the year 2020 include the launching of the institution's corporate plan, strategic plan and the PILAG training policy. The CEO was speaking during the handover takeover ceremony of the Department of Personnel Management recently.
In partnership with the Department of Personnel Management, PILAG has achieved some important milestones last year. This includes the NEC policy submission to reform the public service. And with DPM's HR Development Policy 2020 to 2030, PILAG has got its training policy in place. This policy is to ensure all public servants are trained according to what they perform in the public service.
An example, grade in the public service, grade 5 to grade 10 must have different type of training. 10 to 12 different, 12 to 14 different, then to the department head. So that when the appointment comes, I as a department head, I don't grab someone out and put them somewhere here. He or she needs to go through the training before he reaches here. That means that person is very competent.
They have also signed MOUs with various government departments and provincial governments to offer competency-based training to their staff. These include the police department, correctional services, including other MOUs in Kokopo, Medeng and Mount Hagen, and they are working on delivering e-learning to the public servants.
Rather than people coming and engaging and coming to PILAG, wasting time, all these things, we want to roll out training where they are. And it's very suited for Papua New Guinea. People in districts and provinces who cannot be able to meet the cost and come here, they do their training out there. So e-learning is the way forward that we are looking into.
The Pacific Institute of Leadership and Governance, or formerly known as Administrative College, is a statutory body with its own administrative orders. They have launched their corporate plan 2020 to 2022 and a 10-year strategic plan last year. And this year, they will be delivering all programs mapped out in these plans. Their plan going forward is to deliver quality training for all public servants.
These are the work that we will be doing. First thing is quality assurance and internal systems and procedures. Those need to be improved within the organization so that quality is being delivered to the people out there. So that my trainers, my officers down there, what I want, I encourage and emphasize is the quality.
The newly appointed Public Service Minister, in his official remarks, pledged to work together with PILAG. He says the public service needs good governance and management.
Our senior, Papua New Guineans who've been served in like diplomatic missions, or they've been in the public service system or corporate entities, we bring them back to PILAG. They become mentors and coaches. They can coach and mentor our young ones. The biggest problem we have in the public service and country is we lack leadership and management.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
Police Commissioner David Manning has issued directives for the suspension of the Gordon's Police Station Commander, the second in command, as well as the shift supervisor following a fatal accident along Waigani Boulevard Road in the National Capital District on the morning of Friday, 8th of January. And at Cora reports.
Commissioner for Police David Manning yet again reiterating in his recent statement that his management will enforce a zero tolerance on poor discipline and lack of performance by policemen and women across the country. This statement being resonated with the handling of a number of other recent cases. However, for this case, he is going to hold the immediate commanders and supervisors responsible as well. The commander of the Gordon's Police Station, where the policeman is serving under, has been tasked to show cause as to why he should not be charged for failing to command and control his men. The same for his second in command as the shift supervisor. Manning states for far too long members have been getting away lightly, and he intends to hold members personally liable for criminal conduct. Expressing condolence, Manning states he is saddened at this unnecessary loss of life and the pain being inflicted upon the passengers and their families. Further assuring the families that the accident is being investigated and appropriate actions will be taken. The policeman will be dealt with both criminally and administratively. Preliminary reports from the OIC traffic revealed that the policeman was under the influence of alcohol, speeding and rammed into the PMV bus after the bus had already crossed the intersection. The 10-seater Land Cruiser was allocated to the Gordon's Police Station Public Safety Unit. A young woman was reported to have been killed and 5 other people, including 2 children, critically injured in the collision. And at Cora, National MTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. When we return, we'll bring you a closer look back at history and a moment in time in 1997. Stay tuned. Welcome back. MTV News is a custodian of 34 years of Papua New Guinea's visual history. From political upheavals to votes of no confidence and natural disasters, we've documented them all. Tonight we thought we'd give you something different for a closer look. Scott White takes us back to a moment in time in 1997, in the months after the Sandline crisis, when Prime Minister, the late Bill Skate, publicly sacked his deputy Chris Haiveta.
It was outside the old Jackson's Airport terminal in 1997 that Prime Minister Bill Skate publicly and unceremoniously sacked his deputy Chris Haiveta. The Prime Minister had just returned from an overseas meeting, and while he was away, an associate released videos of him boasting about alleged crimes. The man in question, Mujo Sefa, also secretly filmed the Deputy Prime Minister and the Defence Minister appearing to receive cash bribes.
I don't need money to fracture my game members. I'll take it away in Goli here. There's no other good one. I'm the only good one.
Prime Minister Skate held a news conference inside the terminal announcing the sacking of the PPP leader Andrew Byng and the Deputy Prime Minister Chris Haiveta.
From today, I have sacked Chris Haiveta and Andrew Byng. They conspired. It is alleged they conspired. As from today, they are 2 sacked.
And outside, Skate told him that he had been sacked when Haiveta came to welcome him back. All the events were recorded by MTV and the ABC.
I want to be honest with you. I sacked you today, and I've sacked Andrew Byng. I think you people really set me up.
No, bro, I haven't.
I
haven't. I've been waiting for you to come back, so...
He's no longer the Deputy Prime Minister.
Okay, Prime Minister, we'll see you. Okay. Well, the Prime Minister has the prerogative to sack any minister.
All of this has now become part of the tapestry of Papua New Guinea's rich yet troublesome and sometimes infuriating political history. 1997 to 1999 were turbulent years for the country. In the first quarter of 1997, word came out that the government of Sir Julius Chan was in talks with a British security contractor, Tim Spicer, and they were jointly planning to bring in South African mercenaries to end the decade-long Bougainville crisis. As Australia, behind the scenes, urged Papua New Guinea against the decision, the government was determined to proceed with the hefty security contract. After news broke in Australia, the NCD governor and opposition MP Bill Skate became the strongest of the political voices against the Sandline contract and against the Chan government. Behind the scenes, NGOs led by the Melanesian Solidarity Group formed an alliance with other stakeholders and politicians. At Murray Barracks, the PNG Defence Force commander Jerry Singerok issued instructions for Sandline mercenaries who'd been sent to Wewak to be disarmed and placed under arrest. Singerok then went to NBC Radio and called for the Prime Minister to step aside. Over the following days, the tense situation escalated into riots in Port Moresby, and eventually the mercenaries, publicly humiliated, were expelled from the country. 1997 was also election year, with Sandline still fresh in the minds of voters. Key political leaders lost their seats, including Prime Minister Sir Julius Chan. When Parliament met after the elections, Bill Skate was voted into office as Prime Minister. But Skate's term in office was plagued with a host of problems, economic and political, including allegations of bribery and corruption. The Skate government had taken over at a time when political allegiances were as fluid and unpredictable, and some would argue far worse than the decade of the 80s. When Bill Skate came to power, the country's cash flow had been severely hampered by 10 years of war on Bougainville, and these problems were further compounded with controversies surrounding the political and economic decisions he made at the time. And one of those decisions was to employ former World Bank head of PNG, come consultant Dr. Piruz Hamidian Rudd, on a 7 million kina contract. The opposition was furious, and they traded blows both inside and outside of Parliament. Hamidian Rudd developed the 1999 budget with recommendations to cut funding to important sectors like education, health and law enforcement. On an even grander scale, the controversies reached outside of PNG's boundaries. Government attempts to give diplomatic recognition to Taiwan in the hope of funding support fell through after it was revealed very publicly. When the Mujo Sefa tapes were broadcast on Australian television and later on MTV, the Prime Minister was overseas. When he returned, he underestimated the impact of the news. At the airport, the PM tried to downplay the news, but when prompted during questions, he announced the sacking of his deputy Chris Iveta and coalition partner Andrew Bain. Coalition MPs immediately withdrew their support. With Iveta gone from cabinet, Pangu split into two camps.
We withdraw our support from Bill Skate.
People are ready to solo go inside and run him country.
As time went on and faced with immense pressure from within his own ranks and the opposition, Skate resigned, paving way for the election of a new Prime Minister. And after a lot of wrangling in the weeks leading up to Skate's resignation as Prime Minister,
Mr. Murata, 99.
coalition leaders including John Pundari made a decision to back Sir Mekere Murata as Prime Minister.
I now declare Mr. Mekere Murata as the Prime Minister-elect of the independent state of Papua New Guinea.
And Trukai Sports is next. Fideli Sukina will join you with the details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. Trial matches for the Kuriu Tanobada Volleyball Association took place over the weekend as the villagers from Elavala gear up for their competition. Organizers look to use the games as a means of fostering friendly competition while building stronger community bonds.
The Tanobada and Kuriu clans of Elevala village in Hanuabada have taken the initiative to organize a volleyball competition to engage the clan members in friendly competition.
Clan in the village is called Kuriu Tanobada. That's in the Elevala side, part of the Hanuabada village. We started off a competition. We actually targeting this as a Easter competition to have some sort of celebration within our community. Introduced the whole idea to the community. They decided that we should go ahead with it. So we only had just this week to decide what to do, and they all agreed to play a sport of volleyball.
12 clubs are fielding 4 teams each, 2 male and 2 female, who will be placed in A and B grade. The trial matches, which began over the weekend, will determine the final 6 teams who will be participating in the competition proper. This will run until the Easter long weekend, where the finals will be held.
The competition is targeted for our community only, but we have our boys and girls from this community married to other clans, intermarriages, and we also invite them to come and join with us. We haven't decided when to do a cut-off date, but at this point in time, we're just trying to create the interest.
Competition organizer Ted Mayer wants to use the code of volleyball as a tool to promote and improve community engagement while bringing awareness to social issues affecting the community.
One of the main issues that we have is alcohol abuse, and drugs as well. It's sad to say, but our young boys and young girls are starting to consume alcohol at a very early age. And that's something that we really need to seriously look into. And I think one way of addressing that is through sports. We get them, like I said, get their interest and then at the same time make that awareness.
Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
Round 6 of the Women's National Soccer League kicked off this weekend for the Northern Conference. It was a double weekend for Northern Conference with matches played on Saturday and Sunday. The Southern Conference will resume competition on 16th of January. On Saturday, the Makam Rangs came out victorious after a strong match between Rainy Lay, the Makam team coming out victorious 1-0. In the second match, it was a dominant display with Sipik FC coming out victors 4-0 against Pacific Gardens. In the other 2 matches, Poro FC 3 defeating Bara FC 1. And in the final match, it was Morobe Tulips 3 defeating Tuspab Lidamon 2. And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. Helen will be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Moniplus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Light drizzles tonight, then fine morning in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondita. In the Momasa region, light showers tonight, then fine partly cloudy morning in Ley and Vanimo. Partly cloudy tonight, then morning rain drizzles in Wewak and Midang. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine, though partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow in Lorengau and Kimbe. Fine, partly cloudy tonight with morning showers and drizzles in Kokopo and Rabaul. Partly cloudy tonight with morning rain showers in Kavieng, and fine, partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow in Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain showers and drizzles, then morning fog in Mount Hagen, Mendi and Wabek, and light rain drizzles tonight, then morning fog in Goroka and Kundiala. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru, to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samarai Island, including waters of Samarai Island to East Cape and to Cape Vogel, through Hugh and Gulf to Finschhafen, with waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits, to CRC Long Islands, with waters of Long Island to Karkar Island, to Wewak and to Aitape to the northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, including waters of New Ireland to Bougainville and waters of east and west New Britain, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 1 to 1.3 meters. A look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas slide with southwest to northwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas slide with northwest to northeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas slide with northwest to northeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slide to moderate with northeast to easterly winds at 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Sunday, the 10th of January 2021. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing. Good night.